Now he started the prelude. I'm sorry. Now he started the prelude. So I don't know. Do you want to interrupt his prelude to do your mic check?
No, I'm good. No, just get into it and all that.
Come, come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. If you came alone or with others, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or how you speak or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes, you are welcome here. If you come with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, then you are indeed welcome here. Someone is already so excited about coffee hour, which I understand that's probably my favorite part of church too. Happy Pride, everyone. Woo! And welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of New Orleans, a congregation gathered in love since 1833 to seek wholeness and work for justice in the world. I am Margot Anderson, and my pronouns are she and her. And if you are a visitor this morning, we invite you to raise your hand so we could greet you. Any visitors? Also, we would like to ensure that everyone in attendance can hear the service in its entirety. So if you're unable to hear any of the speakers, please wave your hand loudly. You can even make a little noise if they don't seem to see you, to let them know that you need them to get closer to the mic, speak up. We are a lay-led congregation, and on Sunday mornings, we ask you ministers, other religious professionals, leaders from social justice organizations, and our own members to be voices of hope, courage, and spiritual or intellectual transformation from our pulpit. And our usual monthly visitor, Reverend Sarah Green, will be in Guatemala for the next 2 months. So we look forward to her return in August, but that's why we won't see her for a little bit. This morning, we are so delighted to have several members joining us. Stephanie Baus. Woo! Melanie Miranda, and Noel Twilbeck, whom you can read a little bit more about in your insert, will speak to us from their own experiences about LGBTQ progress. And now, if you will please rise in body or spirit and join me in lighting the chalice of our heritage while we read the words of Reverend Hannah Roberts Villeneuve that you will find in your order of service, and then join in our sung response following. People sometimes ask, is pride a protest or a party? The answer is, of course, yes. We kindle this flame in celebration of the life we share. And please remain as you are for our opening hymn, number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. For today's service, we will sing verses 1 and 4. We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see even to question truly is an answer. Please be seated.
Good morning. My name is Katie Gelfand. I'm the Director of Religious Exploration here. My pronouns are she and her. And to open our new member ceremony, I'd like to invite some new members who have not yet signed the book to come forward and sign with us. Kevin Erickson. Hunter McGue. And Shuka Shafe. Is Shuka here? Okay. With us in spirit. So Lane will assist you in signing the book. You can come over here. June 1st. Thank you, Kevin. If you can just stand over here. Thank you. It's always very special when we get to witness people doing this together as a community. Sometimes it just happens on the side. That's our official welcoming committee. Welcome, Hunter. And I'd like to also invite up our other new members who have recently signed the book. Dwayne White. Yay. And also Hunter Weber, who is out sick, but with us in spirit, and Tucker Barker, who is out of town, but with us in spirit. And is Brad Ott here? I thought I maybe saw it. No, Brad Ott also here in spirit. So on the table next to me are three symbols that represent what binds us together as members of this congregation. Oh, sorry, before we begin, can you all each have your orders of service? Because we're going to read from that together. Thank you. Okay, great. On the table behind me are three symbols representing what binds us together as members of this congregation. The flaming chalice, which we lit earlier, a sign of our liberal faith tradition and history, and a vessel that nourishes and protects our spiritual life. The bowl, used in water communion ritual to remind us of our aspiration to support each other through life's movements of grief, transformation, renewal, and joy. And the membership book, both a record and a symbol of our commitment to the vision and mission of this church. Becoming a member is a commitment to support and tend the vision and mission of this church. New members will now express their commitment by reading together aloud our mission and vision. Becoming a member of this church means learning and living the values of Unitarian Universalism, transformation, equity, pluralism, justice, generosity, and love. And interdependence. Sorry, can't forget interdependence. Very important. Interdependence and love. It is a commitment to engage with this community of faith by caring for one another, searching for truth and meaning, working for justice, and learning to live in loving, right relationship with ourselves, each other, and the world. There are 4 specific expectations of membership: presence, participation, generosity, and exploration. Our new members will now express their commitment to these expectations by reading the new member commitment. Membership means a dedication to the larger UU faith, to this church, to each other, and to ourselves. These are not always easy things to do. That is why we covenant to do them together. Together, I invite all church members to read aloud our covenant of right relationship, that we may be reminded how we aspire to live in community with one another. Together. We want our faith community to be a safe and loving one, a place where we acknowledge our fears and vulnerabilities and share our authentic selves. Each of us is an ever-changing river, always on the way to becoming our best selves. We have learned that to create such a community, it is necessary to cultivate trust and skillful communication, and to be aware that each of us is shaped by our experiences with privilege and oppression. Reflecting on this wisdom, we covenant to be open to risk and vulnerability, to trust others to do the same. Trust that others' good intentions take responsibility for our actions and feelings. Recognize that our intent can be different than our impact. Resolve to act in ways that convey our good intent to others. Learn and grow with one another. Listen with our whole hearts and speak from the heart. Endeavor to connect with people in a personal and genuine way. Be honest, direct, and kind with each other. Seek to stay in relationship, especially during conflict. Acknowledge and celebrate our differences. Act in ways that promotes justice and peace in relation with others. Commit to continually resist the impacts of privilege we all have. Dismantle oppression and build justice. We promise to call each other back into this covenant as needed and to help everyone be their best selves. We do not covenant to be perfect. We covenant that if you come here with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, you are indeed welcome here. Can I have the gift givers come forward, please? Beverly and Gwendolyn are going to give our gifts. They are our representatives who will be representing our congregation at the National UU Conference General Assembly this month in Baltimore. New members, please accept these gifts and roses as a reminder of the commitment you have made today, and as a token of welcome into our church's membership. We are delighted and grateful that you have chosen to deepen your relationship with us and welcome you with open arms. Congratulations and welcome. Can someone snap a picture before they leave the stage? Y'all stay up. Can y'all stay on the stage for one moment? We can snap a little picture of y'all with your gifts and flowers. It'll be sweet. Oh. Gwen can be in the picture too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie, and welcome new members. Of course, you're right. Excuse me. So it's the first Sunday of the month, so this is the time when people are asked to share any joys and sorrows with the community. We know that ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, and a spiritual community where we seek meaning, a sharing community where our joys are amplified, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. Anyone who would like may come forward and release a stone in the water, either in silence or with a brief sharing of your own joy or sorrow. And in honor of Pride, there may be a little sparkle to when your stone falls. So if folks want to make a line that way, that'd be great.
I have a couple of joys this morning. The first one is that Barrett Smith is now our president. Yay, yay. And I like the sparkle. Ooh. I didn't realize that was where it was. And my other joy is thanks to an anonymous donor to our church. I get to go spend a week with Gwendolyn. There's Gwendolyn in Baltimore at GA, and I know it's going to teach me a lot, and I'm open to that learning. So, yeah.
Hi, everybody. I have a sorrow to share today. It's about my cousin, Flor de Maria. She died last week of cancer in Guatemala. She was in her 30s, and she was not only a victim of cancer, but also of a very dysfunctional system, social and governmental system that doesn't cater to people, so this is for her.
I also have sorrow, though this glitter is cheering my heart, so thank you. Someone I'm very close to is having some pretty scary heart issues, and he's quite young for this to be happening, and I just want him to be okay.
I have a joy and a sorrow. My joy is that Linda Wren and I got to participate in the Community Lighthouse Lightkeepers training yesterday in Laplace. And over 100 people came from here to Baton Rouge who were volunteering to lead those community lighthouses, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a place where solar power has been installed, the panels and the battery backup walls, so they can be places of survival for us after a disaster. They will open so that people can come there and get some air conditioning, charge their phones, refrigerate their medicine, whatever, you know, bring their kids, we'll play with the kids, whatever. And our community UU church, sister church, is a community lighthouse. So it was just really, the training was great, but it was inspiring to see how many people are willing to give of themselves to help others post-disaster. That's my joy. My sorrow is that a good friend of mine, Brenda Anderson, finally passed away from a years-long battle with cancer. Her mother is a very dear friend of mine, and Hedwig Anderson, and she's a member of the UU Church of Pensacola. So I just ask you to hold Hedwig and Raven, her daughter, in your thoughts and prayers. It's a hard time.
Good morning. I have a joy to share this morning. One of my childhood friends, Steve, who has been on dialysis for almost 3 years, got a kidney.
Good morning. I have a very immense joy to share and a very immense sorrow. My joy, most of you know, a couple months ago, Dylan and I got married. My spouse, he's not here today. He's feeling sick, you know, in sickness and health. We're doing it. So that is my joy. My sorrow, sorry. If you've ever had a pet, you know the unconditional love that they give you. I had a dog named Marie, who was just the epitome of joy and love, and she developed cancer over the last month and went pretty quickly, and we had to say goodbye on Wednesday. So I am feeling joy at all of the 6 years that we had of adventures, and immense sorrow, because if you've lost a pet, you know, you kind of have a hole in your heart and emptiness in your house. So those are my joys and sorrows.
Good morning. I have many joys this morning. The first, I always start at home. I woke up this morning with no pain. With these arthritic bodies, to wake up and nothing's hurting, that's a joy. I say hallelujah for that. I say hallelujah to be a part of this community for more than 35 years. I've been a part of this loving community. I've grown and changed so much. I've gained confidence in myself and all that went with it. And now I will represent this congregation. I'll be a delegate. I've never been a delegate anywhere at any time in my life. I want to represent you well. I've been reading, you know, it's a whole lot I didn't know, I guess because I didn't care to. But now I'm reading up because I don't want to be like a bump on a pickle, just sitting there when everybody's talking about whatever it is that has to be discussed and voted on. I want to represent you well. So keep me in your hearts. Just know that learning is not easy at any age, but at 82, but just know that I'll do the best that I can. And my sorrow is that for the many people who I've lost throughout my lifetime, grief is cumulative. And with every incident or experience, it gets deeper. I lost one of my Unitarian friends 2 weeks ago who has been like home for me. Her name was Amanda Thomas. She's a part of the Unitarian community, and so much she offered as far as the music, and just not her friendship for me, but she was the choir director at the church. I'm a dual person, member of the First Church Society in Chicago. That's where we met. And we have been close. We've been to many of the events and shared rides and all kinds that went with it. She was considered a young woman, and her talents she shared generously. So she will be missed, and I'm just grateful that I had the chance to know her and to love her.
Hello. I have a sorrow. I also lost a pet. Me and Bobby lost our cat, Boopy. She was with me for 15 years, and it's hard to walk in and not see her. So I have two joys. I have grandson number 5 and granddaughter number 6. My son and his wife had twins this week.
I have a joy. I wasn't going to talk, but my joy is simply that I am alive.
Good morning, I'm Henry, and my joy is that my brother Dan and his wife Jill, after many years of stoically insisting that they could take care of themselves despite having significant support needs, and my encouraging them to move on to the transition. Moved into an assisted living facility that looks like a great match for their hobbies and lifestyle.
Hello. I have a sorrow, which you all know, which is that I'm resigning. But I just want to be really transparent that it is still hard for me to do this. And every time I'm here, I'm reminded of how much I love this community, and how much I've grown up in this church since I was 5 years old. And so there's people that have known me here since I was 5, which is so magical. And I just, yeah, I'm still heartbroken about it. I know it's the right time, but I just want you all to know that it is a deep sorrow, and I wanted to take this opportunity on the first day of my last month doing Joys and Sorrows to say that, ooh, the glitter is so fun. Yeah, okay, so now I'm gonna do a joy then, just because the glitter is so fun, which is that, yeah, I'm just so grateful for the years that I've been here for almost 9.5 years. And it's been one of the greatest joys of my whole life to serve this congregation. I've learned so much about community, our faith, leadership, connection, forgiveness. The list goes on, and I'm sure I'll have another opportunity to share that, but I just wanted to take advantage with the joys and sorrows to do that magic and get some glitter. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Katie. Oh, wow, look at that glitter. I'm glad I came forward. So a lot of you know that I have been struggling a lot because I've been, it's been like 5 years I've been trying to get a surgery on my knee to basically rebuild it. And I got to 10 days away from it and had a wound come up, and it got postponed to July. So that was my sorrow. And then I really worked on taking care of it and getting through it. And now I have joy because it's been moved up to June 17th. Yeah. So I ask you to joyfully help me stay healthy. I'm walking around with a little bubble around my legs and just trying to keep the light around me.
So nobody should bump into your legs. They're very precious. And I see we have one more.
I have a joy, and it was in June 25th, 2015, the Marriage Equality Act was passed. And many in our community and the general community have taken advantage of that, and it was momentous.
Thank y'all. May we remember those who have spoken, those they have named, and those that we hold in silence in our hearts. Let us enter into a time of silence, which we will close by singing together, Voice Still and Small. Please join me now as we read our responsive reading, Beginners by British American poet Denise Levertov, which is found at number 648 in your gray hymnals. I'll begin if you'll please respond with the text in italics. Beginners. But we have only begun to love the earth. We have only begun to imagine the fullness of life. How can we desire fail? We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy. Surely, our river cannot already be hastening into the sea of non-being. Not yet. Not yet. There is too much broken that must be mended. We have only begun to know the power that is in us if we would join our solitudes in the communion of struggle. So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much is in Right now, in the current moment, many of us feel we are being assaulted daily with the loss and the threatened loss of so much progress, the loss of rights, the loss of safety and dignity and rule of law, the loss of health, the needless loss of lives. But today, in honor of Pride Month, we would like to look back at some gains made here in our own part of the world, gains of LGBTQ rights. Melanie, Stephanie, and Noel will each share a piece of their own story that we may all find uplifting or hopeful. So I'd like to ask Melanie to start us off.
Thanks for that. As you could see in the order of service, I was born in the Stone Age, 1949, and I came to equality, honestly, through my mother. After my father died when I was 11, she raised 6 children while getting involved in racial justice. This made it easier for me to come out. I remember vividly how this happened. My girlfriend of 10 years broke up with me and moved away. I was heartbroken, which also meant I had to move out of our apartment. So graciously, my mother let me come live with her temporarily till I found another abode. I was such a sad sack, so depressed. And my mother kept asking me, why are you so down? This is not you. And so I just said, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. And finally, she asked me one too many times, and I said, okay, I'm gonna tell you why I'm so down. My girlfriend left me and broke my heart. And frankly, I was surprised that she was surprised. During that time that I came out to her, she gave me the most incredible gift I've ever received, and that's unconditional love. Thank you, Mom. She asked me at one of our talks, why out of the 6 children was I so different? And I said, just lucky, I guess. Anyway, I really appreciated that. I began my activism by joining the local chapter of NOW, National Organization of Women, that was trying to pass the Equal Rights Amendment. And it was a great place to meet people, especially lesbians. Big fighters. Unfortunately, after many tries, it didn't pass, and I still don't understand how that amendment didn't pass. Right, women? This led me to joining, getting involved with equal rights for gay people. So I took a position on the board of LAGPAC, which was the original gay political group, Lesbians and Gays for Political Action Campaign. From there, I went to be a charter member of Forum for Equality, which ran candidates for office and endorsed advocates for political office. In 1991, after 2 failed attempts to pass a New Orleans ordinance outlawing discrimination against homosexuals in housing, employment, and public places, it was groundbreaking that it passed. I took a sick day and was in the city chambers when the outcome came after 6 hours of debate. The ordinance passed, and we were elated, jumping up and down in the chamber, getting on top of the chairs, we were blown away. It was the top of the news, and it was on the front page of the Times-Picayune. But unfortunately, after taking a sick day, I was on the front page of the Times-Picayune. The next day, when I went to work, I saw my neighbor as I was getting in the car, and he said, "Melanie, did you see the paper today?" And I said, "No." And he said, "I think you should look." So I got a paper and looked at it, and I went, whoa. But in the picture, we were all jumping up and down, and somebody's arm was right here, hiding out. When I got to work, I was torn whether to tell my elementary school principal about this or just to let it ride. So I decided to go to sort of the senior teacher, who was an African-American woman who I was a friend with, and I showed her the picture and told her, and she said, "I think you should go talk to him." So I asked to talk to him, and he said yes, and I said, "Can I close the door?" So I closed the door, and I put the paper on his desk, and he looked at it, and I said, "I just wanted to show you before some mama came in and complained about the dyke teaching their children PE. And fortunately for me and the world, he said he wasn't going to let anybody make an issue out of it, and I was happy about that. And no one came forth. Also, I'd like to say I'm grateful to those who paved the way before the present-day gays are. Harvey Milk, who was killed in San Francisco, Billie Jean King, who advocated for equal pay, Martin Luther King, who was an advocate for equality for everyone in every way. And I'd like to thank the locals who fought and are still fighting. Most of all, Charlene Snyder, who owned Charlene's Bar, to which I think of as I pretty much grew up in that bar. Bob Batson, Stuart Butler, Nikki Kirby and Betty Caldwell, Susan Clade, and Randy Evans. And like I said, the pinnacle of all of this was in June 2015 when they passed the Marriage Equality Act. We've accomplished a lot. Now we have to make sure that Trump doesn't destroy what we've accomplished by discriminating against our trans population. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. And now we'll hear from Stephanie Baus.
Morning. I just realized it's been a long time since I've been up here. I used to be on the worship team, and I used to be up here all the time, but it's been a while. And I just wanted to thank Margot for asking me to do this, because even though it made me nervous, the process was really revealing to me, because I think on a day-to-day basis, in some way, I forget how different it was when I was young. And having to go through and think about what it was like was quite a reminder. And just to give you guys some context, I'm going to talk about something real particular to me, but when I was growing up in New Orleans, I knew nobody, not one soul that I knew was a lesbian. There was no lesbian roles on TV. There was no famous person that was out as a lesbian. It was something that there was no way to learn about. There was no way to, figure out or feel like you fit anywhere. When I went to college, I remember there was one lesbian couple who walked around campus holding hands, and they were infamous because they're the only lesbian couple I knew, even in college in the 70s in New York. So it was quite a different time. Even if we don't think about anything else but that, and even with the threats that are happening today, we've come a long way. When I came back from college and met someone and came out to myself, actually it was, rather than being a turmoil, it was quite a relief, because it explained so much about why things never really fit the mold for me my whole life. And I got acquainted with the lesbian community in New Orleans and started learning about lesbian culture and going to women's music festivals and all kind of wonderful things. The only struggle I had about coming out was that I always knew I wanted to be a mom, and I did not know how in the world I was going to do that. I didn't know anybody who had become a mom as a lesbian by having a child. I knew a few, there weren't that, lesbian moms who had kids by previous marriages. One of my good friends actually adopted 2 children, but nobody was doing this, and there was no fertility clinic in Louisiana that would work with you if you were a lesbian. Even if you didn't tell them you were a lesbian, they wouldn't work with you if you were unmarried. And so through the grapevine, I guess, we found a fertility clinic in LA where you could do it long distance. And that's what we did. I explored having a child with someone I knew, but at that time there was a very real possibility that you could be declared an unfit mother because you were gay. So that was we threw that one out because we didn't want to take that risk, even though there were some advantages. There maybe were some advantages, but I'm so glad that, my family, most of my family except for my sister disapproved. So most of the time when you say you want to have a baby, people, your family's supportive, but that wasn't the case except for my sister. And I'm just so glad that it's easier now. I happily had my daughter Kat in 1993. Within a year of her life, I joined the UU Church, so I always know how long I've been here by how old Kat is, and she's 32 now. For those of you who know my history, you might be confused because my daughter in college was exploring her gender and for a time identified as trans and used they, them pronouns, and has since kind of found her feminist self and is now identifying as female, but as she, her, but also I'm as queer in a more broad sense. We started, myself and one or two other people started a lesbian mom support group because we didn't really know very many people in our situation, and so that was a good thing. But at the time, I just never would have dreamed that I would see so many gay and lesbian families with kids and have that be as commonplace as it is now, and even our Secretary of Transportation, and with his husband and kids and being out, and it's a different world. Mario talk about progress and kind of I was thinking about creating change, and the incident that came up for me was that sometimes change is really personal and one-to-one, the way that you create. I mean, sometimes it's movements, but sometimes it's really one-to-one and personal. I'm sure was the only lesbian in the decade to be this pregnant listening to my friend's band in the Mint, which was the gay bar on Bourbon and Esplanade. So part of it was being open and visible, and I think that makes change. It did at work and things like that. But one particular story, my partner at the time, Michelle, and I, we were the first lesbian parents at Kat's preschool. And we met with the directors before we sent her there, and they assured us that they were welcoming to us, and everything was great. They were lovely. The teachers were lovely. They loved Kat. Every time, Kat was a very gregarious kid. Every time I came, she was sitting on somebody's lap. She started when she was 2 because I worked, and everything was great until she reached the 4-year-old class. And in the 4-year-old class, you go every year for a parent-teacher kind of thing. And for the first, we always got glowing reports. Everything about Kat, was great. We started getting these negative things about things that Kat was doing wrong or things that Kat was, struggling with. And finally, I said, is there anything good that she's done? And they said, well, she said she wishes she had a father. So I said, okay, I get it now. It turns out these 2 particular teachers were older and had not been exposed to a lot and were homophobic. And so trying to figure out what to do about that, to not have our daughter in that situation. I was a social worker, I was in a PhD program, I think, at the time. Anyway, studying a lot of studies. So we brought in a study to the directors of children of lesbian parents, and it basically, because a lot of kids were getting taken away from gay parents, they did a lot of studies starting in the 50s and on about comparing kind of kids of gay parents and kids of straight parents, which is biased in itself because you're assuming, if the kids like kids of straight parents, then maybe they're okay. Maybe they should compare it the other way. But anyway, I brought this article. It was a review article. I brought it in. I went through it with the directors. Turns out they did an in-service with all the teachers. And when we went back, it was a totally different tone, totally different mood, and we didn't have a problem with that anymore. So I feel like just fighting the little battles creates change. And it was a small incident where we saw something actually get better. And I'm, again, now I feel like that wouldn't happen, and I'm so happy that wouldn't happen to anybody. Talking about what Melanie said about the Marriage Act and about all the fighting we did, my current partner, Anna, and I got married in 2009, but we had to go to Massachusetts because there was only 2 places where you could get married. And we came back to New Orleans, we ended up splitting up a year later. We had been together for like 12 or 13 years. We could not get divorced because the state of Louisiana did not recognize that we were even married. So we we were the first gay people to get divorced in Louisiana in 2015 when the Marriage Act passed, because finally our marriage was recognized. Huh? And to follow up on Melanie's part, we actually had to go to 3 judges because they were saying, the local politicians were saying don't issue marriage licenses and blah, blah, blah. And it was Paulette Irons, who's a judge, and she said, I'll do it. And so she gave us the divorce. And apparently somebody in the records room picked up on it and called a reporter and interviewed her about it. And she said, please don't put their names in the paper. Divorce is hard enough. And of course he said, no way, we're putting the names in the paper. And it was, if you read it, it was kind of like a watch out for watch out for what you ask for, it was very hurtful. But again, I'm really glad that that's not the case anymore and that doesn't have to happen to anybody else. So, and Melanie, who was our minister at the time, Melanie Miranda, called me up that day when she saw it and was very, very supportive and kind about it. So I felt a lot of support from this community.
Now we invite Noel Twilbeck to close us out.
It has been intimidating following my friends. Thank you. I'm Noel, and I'm gay. I didn't realize the significance in that until I went through some of this, and as Stephanie had said, I'm going to use my words, though. This was somewhat humbling, and this process was somewhat humbling and cathartic, I guess. And I started off with that title, I'm Noel and I'm gay. Toward the end of it, I just want to say, I'm Noel, and damn it, I'm gay and proud of it. I recall that I've always liked men. I didn't not like women, but that's not where my life led me. Growing up, I wouldn't allow myself to even think about coming out, even though I clearly preferred men. It would just be too much for a kid like me who just wanted to blend in and fit in to ever do anything different. I recall that many people were pretty cruel back then, and gay people were often the target of ostracism, hate, and violence. I never pursued my interest in men through my adolescence and early childhood, at least not physically. There certainly was not anyone to talk to. Personal feelings, especially mine, were just not something we talked about at Catholic school. And I knew my family would be very disappointed. I just knew it. And probably my dad would just kick me out. I think he was already on the verge of disowning me because I was so different, even though I didn't express my desires. I eventually, after college, I went to work at a local hospital, and during my first job, I worked at Baptist Hospital. I believe I had my first love. I met a woman, and we dated and even talked about getting married. She moved back to Memphis, and I was to join her, but her interest faded with distance, and so I didn't move in that direction. At the same time, I became friends with a number of gay men who worked with me at the hospital. When my relationship ended, I decided to join them on some field trips into the Quarter, and it was an educational trip, yes. Those guys were fun. They were funny. They were thoughtful, and they seemed interested in making sure that I fit in, even though I didn't quite fit in. They had the support of a community. Some had the support of their families of origin, and others built their own families of choice. So I began to date men. This was also at a time when a growing number of men were getting sick and dying. the AIDS epidemic had reached New Orleans. I thought seriously about going back into the closet. Living straightly, I just made that up, might not be that bad after all. I even delayed having the talk with my family, or at least with my mom, because I decided that I might just go back and date women again. When I did have the conversation with my mom, I let her know that my roommate was not just my roommate. She asked how long that I considered myself to be gay. I told her when I met and started dating Rick, that was my boyfriend at the time. She asked me if that's when I became gay or when I finally accepted it. So my mouth dropped and said, "What do you mean by that?" She said, "Well, you were always different, and I knew you were very special." That was over 40 years ago. Going back to that time frame, new friends were dying, hospitalizations and funerals were common, of course. I began volunteering with the No AIDS Task Force. We knew back then the fate of those diagnosed with AIDS, and our goal was to make sure that they died with dignity. And we had to educate people. Awareness was critical to survival. Not too much later, Rick died due to complications of AIDS. And shortly after that, I met Glenn. We were bowling together in the Gay League, and don't get shocked, Glenn knows what I'm talking about here, so I'm not disclosing anything new. During bowling, we met, we flirted, we bought each other drinks a couple of times, and our first date, we were gonna go drive into the quarter and have a couple of drinks. And we drove around and couldn't find a parking place. We parked somewhere outside of the French Quarter. Before we got out of the car, I wanted to let Glenn know that I was not ready for a relationship or dating. I had just buried my partner who died from AIDS. I think that was a little bit of a relief for Glenn, because he then let me know that he had just been diagnosed with HIV, and he couldn't risk infecting another person. When he was diagnosed, he was given a lifespan of a couple of months, and that he should do everything he wanted to do in that time frame. So of course he put everything on credit cards and had big bills. So it was not going to be a relationship with him, and we didn't go dancing that night either. It was kind of a bummer. But we both did have change of hearts and minds, and we began dating. We lived together. We survived a commitment ceremony on the March on Washington. And later we had a full-blown legal wedding with friends and family, and it was beautiful. So we've been together, thank you. We've been together 36 years. He put up with me this long, maybe even a little longer. I did eventually, back in that time, go to work with No AIDS Task Force. Started off as a research center manager, became a volunteer director, then executive director and CEO. When protease inhibitors were introduced and available in our community, we had to change our focus, and people were able to focus on living with dignity now, not just dying, and thriving with HIV. We began to focus on access to care and supportive services and developing systems of care. Today, while there's still no cure for HIV, we live in a world with tools that are available where no other person has to become infected if we can change behavior. And we can end this epidemic. I believe that the horrors of HIV epidemic helped the LGBTQ plus community mobilize, embrace our allies, and find voice and strength. I still yearn for a country where our young people and old people can feel comfortable and valued as themselves in their respective communities, where they don't have to travel to the Northeast or the West Coast to find family. We are indeed privileged. We found love and we found acceptance. Rather than disowning me, my family and friends that matter embraced us and continued to celebrate us. I never felt that my employment and livelihood was ever at risk, although legally it could have been. We own our home, so an eviction is not something we have to worry about as a result of being gay. I've not experienced violence from authorities or random hate-filled strangers. That certainly is not the story for everyone. Our young and old community members remain vulnerable. There are those that would have us exiled because of who we love and how we express ourselves. Some suggest our country would be better if people just went back into the closet or even died. During Pride Month, I hope you will help me celebrate the community struggle, the accomplishments, the lived legacies of brave heroes that have come before us, and the possibilities of our community. Thank you. I'm Noel, and I'm gay.
These stories show us that working toward a more just world can make a difference. Let's use these stories to fuel our ambitions. Beyond just seeking personal acceptance, safety, respect, and fairness, let's be inspired to join forces and actively work to ensure these basic rights and dignities are guaranteed for everyone, no matter who they are, whether living gaily or straightly. Thank you, Noel. And now, generosity is a spiritual discipline. We can practice our act of giving either by placing an offering in the collection plate or by using the information in your order of service to give electronically. Gifts to this community of faith are gratefully received. Let us acknowledge these gifts by reading together the words in your order of service. This gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world. Giving in the offering plate and pledging are part of how we steward this congregation, but there are countless other ways to serve, build community, and share our love with the rest of the city. Here are a few opportunities coming up. The anti-racism and anti-oppression ongoing conversation will be from noon to 1 today with childcare provided. The meeting will be in the FUUNO office, which is right up the stairs behind the chapel, and you're welcome to bring your coffee hour refreshments with you. June 18 to 22 is the UUA's General Assembly, which is meeting this year in Baltimore, and each congregation gets a number of voting delegates based on its size. Since we are a small congregation, we get 2 delegates, and we are so delighted and grateful that Gwendolyn Dunnigan and Beverly Rainbow will be representing us as our voting delegates. We hear there's a lot of paperwork, so thank you. Some of our members with many years of GA experience, Henry and Evelyn McCarthy and Barrett Smith, are also attending. So we hope everyone in the congregation will ask them about their plans, offer any support needed, because I think being a delegate is actually a lot of work, and we look forward to hearing about their experience when they return. They will also be the first to preview the new UU hymnal. This is being replaced by a virtual hymnal called Sing Out Love that folks have been working on for a long time. So y'all are gonna get to hear and see the new hymnal. This is so exciting, so exciting. Edie is looking for some coffee hour hosts to strengthen our ranks. The job does not require any baking or shopping unless you specifically enjoy any of those tasks, but rather we are looking for folks who would be willing to set up, including brewing the coffee, coaching is available, and clean up one Sunday every month or so on a rotating schedule, maybe with a partner. We will have a sign-up sheet at coffee hour this Sunday, and Edie will be available to answer any questions. So this would be a great way to volunteer if you are a host type person. Lastly, North Shore Pride is hosting their second annual Pride Parade ever in Mandeville next Saturday, June 7th at 4 p.m. with a really great party to follow. There'll be a bounce house, there'll be a spray area for kids, a splash pool, I think is what that's called. And Noel is working, as our GNU representative, is working on whether we might even be able to march with the North Shore. UU Church, I know they marched last year because Melanie and Melissa and I went, and it was really, it's very sweet. It's doesn't maybe have the glitz of a New Orleans Pride Parade, but it does have a lot of glitter, and it'd be a great time for us to support our North Shore friends. So ask Noel about that. And I would now like to ask Petal Barrett-Smith, also our new president as of today, to come forward with a spotlight announcement. Oh, yeah. Take this one.
Hi. So the board and the social justice team are asking the congregation to sign on to the anti-apartheid pledge, which many of you received copies of at the last congregational meeting. If you didn't, Jean and Kevin have copies and can give you one today. I think Jean's gonna hand some out if you wanna raise your hand. So at the last board meeting, which was this past Tuesday, the board unanimously voted to endorse this pledge to the congregation based on our UU values of justice, equity, pluralism, interdependence, transformation, and love. So we will be taking a vote on Zoom about whether or not to sign on to this pledge as a congregation. That will take place on June 17th. In the evening. If you would like to discuss this, ask any questions, raise any concerns, advocate for it, learn about it, there will be a meeting after church on June 15th in person to have that kind of conversation in person. In the meantime, the AFSC will also be discussing the pledge on its Zoom. And that is this Friday at 11 a.m. So if you want more details about any of those things, you can talk to Kevin or Jean. Thank you. Also, another meeting next Sunday, next Sunday after church in the Epiphany House, we will be having a meeting to listen to your concerns and questions and needs for all of the kind of transitions that we are dealing with as a congregation right now. This will be the first of several meetings that we'll be having over the summer, because I know it's busy. Not everyone can come to every meeting. So over the next couple of months, we'll be having some space to kind of listen to what y'all need and what we need as a congregation. So come to that next Sunday after church, Epiphany House.
Next door. Thank you, Madam President. And now let us rise, embody our spirit to extinguish our chalice. Our chalice extinguishing is in your order of worship. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And please remain as you are for our closing hymn, number 1020 in your teal hymnal, Woyoya. This is a song written a while back by a Ghanaian rock band, Osabisa, and it's pretty lovely. So. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know. Woyoya, Woyoya, Woyoya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know within. Woyoya, 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 iya, Woyoya, iya, Woyoya, iya, Woyoya, iya. At its founding, our church was known as the Strangers' Church. So please turn and greet your neighbors and join us for coffee hour just outside the back doors to your left.